His name is Robert the Doll, and he's considered the most haunted doll in the world.
For over 100 years, a single doll has tormented thousands.
Something was there to hurt me. Something dark.
It was the scariest moment that I have ever had in my life.
This doll is a portal to attract in a lot of spirits. I just heard, I curse people who don't believe.
Open up!
Dear Robert, I thought I followed the rules.
Movies are not real. Things that you see on TV about other dolls, they're not real. Robert is real.
Don't worry, I'll take care of you. Bye, Robert.
I'm sorry, I can't stop shaking. God, this is hard. Oh, Robert, here we are again. My name is Bonnie, and I have been a victim of Robert the Doll. Robert, I'm here today to apologize to you for what happened, for the disrespect that was showed to you in my presence, and to hopefully get your forgiveness for that. I feel I've paid my dues. I feel like we should be okay with each other by now. I'm sorry. I am sorry. Thank you.
Robert the Doll has haunted Key West for more than 100 years. He's believed to be possessed by some kind of malevolent spirit. With Robert the Doll, people experience things. One lady talked about her husband losing his toe in a lawnmower accident. We've had some people who have blamed deaths on Robert the Doll. But his real story started right here in the house that I'm sitting in over a century ago.
The story of Robert the Doll begins in 1905 at Robert Eugene Otto's 5th birthday party with Gene's sister Mizpah and his nanny and her daughter.
Happy birthday, Robert.
Thank you.
Yes, happy birthday, Robert.
Open the big one next.
Oh, Caroline has good eyes. Here you go.
Did I make it in time?
Oh, he's just about to open his big gift.
Perfect.
Caroline, what have I told you about lounging around the house?
It's okay, Emmeline. Caroline's welcome to stay. She's practically family.
That's very sweet of you, Thomas. Do you like him?
Yes. Thank you, Mother.
Oh, you're most welcome, my darling.
Thank you, Father.
You're welcome, son.
Oh, he's quite strapping.
Ooh, very,
He's
very
big.
strapping.
Robert, don't you want to open the rest of your presents? Robert?
Robert.
His parents had no idea what they were getting themselves into, like this interesting looking doll. It was a gift. We never know what gift we're going to give our children that's going to change the course of their lives. There are forces at work that are beyond us as parents.
Time for lunch, children.
I'm not hungry either. We can stay and play. I'm glad you like your sailor suit. You make a better sailor anyway.
Robert, didn't you hear Emmeline? Lunch is ready.
I heard, but we're not hungry.
We?
Robert and I, we're not hungry.
Robert and... Oh, sweetheart, you're Robert.
No, not anymore. He's Robert now, not me.
You named the doll after yourself?
No, it was a present. I gave him my name. He's Robert. I'm Jean now.
I see he's dressed like you too, Robert.
I told you! He's Robert. I'm Jean.
Okay. Jean. Emmeline is waiting for you.
Don't worry. They'll come around. It's your name now, I promise.
Folklorists and legends will tell you, hey, if you give someone your name, you give someone your clothes, you're giving someone your identity, particularly an effigy, how is that not going to become possessed or contain some sort of spiritual essence?
It's hard to say what the parents would have thought when their child named the doll after himself. But what we do know is that they'd hear different voices coming from the room. And they'd go in to look and see, oh, who does Jean have over? Who is he playing with? And they'd look in and find it was only Jean and Robert the doll.
Isn't this tea delicious, Robert? I don't think I've ever made it any better. I could drink it all day. There's just a little left. Would you like some more? No more.
Oh, Jean. Who were you talking to?
I was talking to Robert.
Jean, don't lie to me. I heard another voice in here.
I'm not lying.
Mitzvah, are you in here?
I'm not lying. Robert and I were having a tea party.
Jean, I heard another voice. Who were you talking to?
Mommy, I promise, it was Robert. But he doesn't want any more tea.
Jean, it's time for bed. Enough with that doll. It's well past your bedtime, and Nanny Emmeline will be in to help you shortly.
Today, Robert lives under protective case of glass inside the Fort East Martello Museum.
Robert has 4 very simple rules to follow when you meet him. Number 1, you have to say hello and introduce yourself. Number 2, you have to be courteous. You have to be polite. Be kind when you talk to Robert. 3, when you leave, you have to say goodbye to Robert. You want to close that connection there. And number 4, probably the most important, is if you take his picture, make sure you ask permission.
If you disrespect him, you are asking for his wrath to come to you and destroy you. And he has every ability to do that. I've seen him destroy people's livelihoods, their careers, their marriages, deaths in the family.
The curse is there. There are thousands of people who have been affected by this doll. And they write letters begging for this curse to be lifted because they didn't follow the rules.
People talk about being struck by lightning, fires, floods, illness. It doesn't end. You go down the list, anything bad that's happened has been blamed on Robert.
My ordeal with Robert started when I was involved in a project to take a photograph of his aura. But things did not end well. The aura is your energy field. Every plant, every person, every living thing has an energy field, and that's it. SLS camera is structured light sensing camera. It senses the light structure of the room. And when there's an anomaly in the room, it will map that. So it will map a person. It should not map a doll. It did map the doll. When I was taking the aura photo of Robert, the gentleman standing behind me was looking at the aura as it was coming up on the computer screen, and I was saying that Robert's looking very handsome, and he just popped up and said, yeah, for an ugly... I knew something bad had just happened. I was in trouble. I personally took blame. If I had not broached the idea of taking the photograph, we wouldn't have been there, and that's why I suffered the consequences. And things got really bad after that. This 8-year journey has gone from car accidents, financial issues, broken back, broken shoulder, loss of my business, and the sinking of my houseboat. Having been through everything that I have with Robert, I can't imagine what the Otto family went through. I don't understand if Robert had been mistreated years and years ago and this is carried forward. It's a mystery.
There's some crazy stories about how the doll came to the house. But we found that the true origins are in Germany, and that Robert was made by the Steiff Company. They had invented the teddy bear in 1902, so that really brought them a lot of acclaim. They would have made Robert probably right around 1904. They made him in several sizes, but his size is extremely rare. He was probably made in the image of an actual human and used in a department store as a display to help sell the Steiff dolls. And we believe that his mother and his father were visiting family, and they picked up the doll and brought him back to Key West. And things were never again the same.
Right after the doll is in the house, little Robert loses all interest in every other toy he has, in everything else practically, and just focuses on this doll. It becomes his life.
Emmeline? Emmeline!
Yes, Miss Otto.
What happened here?
I do not know, Miss Otto, but I'd be more than happy to clean it up for you.
I can clean it. I would just like to know why my vase is broken in pieces on the floor. This is the second one this week.
I did not break it, but let me help you.
Be careful.
Yes, Mom.
Robert! Jean. Honey, you scared us.
I just wanted to bring you this.
What is that? Did you break this? What were you doing in the study?
It wasn't me. I didn't break anything, and I didn't go into the study.
Then who was it? Your sister?
No.
Jean, who was it?
I'm telling the truth. I didn't do it. You have to believe me.
I will not tolerate lies, Jean. Go to your room.
Robert did it.
Son says those fateful words that we hear to this day. Robert did it. What do? This unnerved Minnie immensely. She was never quite the same around Robert, and Robert noticed. Robert always notices.
right, Robert. She did come.
It is hours past your bedtime. What are you still doing awake?
It wasn't my fault, Mother. Robert couldn't sleep.
I am so tired of hearing about Robert. He's just a doll. He doesn't get tired. He doesn't need sleep. He isn't real.
Mother, no! He's my best friend!
Now, until you can understand that Robert is just a doll, he's going to remain locked in there. You can't blame him for any more of your misdeeds. To bed, now.
As disturbed as Minnie was by Robert the doll, one of their servants was about to get the scare of his life.
You all right, George?
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Evelyn?
This doll is getting attention, it's getting energy, it's getting focus from thousands and then tens of thousands of people from all over the world who are going there because not only do they want to see it, they want to experience it. Pretty soon, the museum starts to receive letters. Thousands of letters from people who are writing to apologize to Robert because something went wrong in their lives and they traced it back to disrespecting him in some way.
Robert receives a lot of letters from all over the place. He gets letters, he gets emails, he gets social media messages. I mean, it's fascinating what experiences people have with Robert.
My name is Becky Vickers. You know, I never really believed in curses, but I do now. 100% I do now.
Would you like to read Robert the letter?
I can. It's scary just to think about where I was, where my headspace was when I was writing this letter. So many things have happened since I visited you, Robert, and it can't just be a case of bad luck. I know it's you. Ever since I returned home, nothing but one bad thing after another has happened to me, and I'm afraid of what you will do next. I must apologize for not believing that you could curse someone if they touched you or took pictures of you without your permission first. I am so, so sorry. I will never doubt the kind of power and infliction of fear you can curse someone with. I am a believer. I am. I knew all the rules. I knew that you weren't supposed to take Robert's photograph without asking permission, and I knew you weren't supposed to touch the glass. But I think the curiosity side of me got the better of me. I did touch the glass, and I did take some photos without asking. I don't know, you just don't think things are really gonna happen, but they do. We started having truly unexplained things happening in her home. I could feel a presence. I could feel the energy of someone else in the house with me. I'd never had any feelings in my home, spirits or shadow people, but something was with me, something dark. There was something there to hurt me. The very first thing that went through my mind was, am I seeing Jean, Otto? Am I seeing Jean that used to own the doll?
In 1904, it would not be so strange for a boy to be playing with a doll. On an island like Key West, most of the entertainment involved games. Kids would play outside. They'd run all over the island. They'd pick fruit from trees. You know, they'd just get up to their good mischief. A doll like this would have been very special. People would have come to see it and said, wow, that's something incredible that you have. But they never would have judged a child and said, oh, look at you playing with a doll. But Robert is not just a doll.
My name is Cindy Keza, and I'm a psychic medium. I'm here in Key West to hopefully solve the mystery behind Robert the doll. When I go into an investigation as a psychic medium, my intention is to communicate with the spirits at the location. But I also pick up on psychic imprints left behind. Every location has its own memory, and I can sense what other people also experience at a location.
Hey, welcome to the Artist House. I'm David Sloan.
Nice to meet you, David.
Yeah, nice to have you here. The house is known for the Ottos who built it. It was built around the turn of the century, right in 1900.
Right.
But it was also the home of Robert the doll,
right,
as we know. And
the energy is palpable in this house. I mean, you could feel the shift the second I walked through the threshold.
Let's start right here. This was Eugene Otto's art studio.
Immediately, I'm smelling cigarette smoke. Like, it's so strong. So I know that that is something that people would experience here.
I've seen pictures of Gene's studio where there's ashtrays there.
I can smell it. There are a lot of spirits here. I feel like guests are woken up by a woman, a female. She doesn't feel dark or negative, but she has a story. She has unfinished business. There's also a little girl that runs through here. I can see her running down the halls and running up and down the stairs. I hear her laughing, but she cries too because I sense that part of it. There's a lot of pain in this house. There's a lot of guilt, remorse, shame.
This makes complete sense. One of the stories that plays predominantly in the story of Robert the doll involves a nanny.
And it's a big one. That's a big piece of the story. I can feel her because she has unfinished business, like a lot of unfinished business.
So I want to take you to the parlor room.
Wow. The second that I walk in here, I'm hearing like babies crying. Like I'm hearing this baby crying, 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 crying so loud. I feel this woman's anger about like, this should not have happened this way. It wasn't meant to be this way. It shouldn't have gone down this way. And it feels like there's a cover up or something was hidden or they told a different story than what actually happened.
Emmeline Abbott, the nanny here. She lost a child. I believe the child died in this room and that Robert the doll was in this room.
Okay. I think that this doll was already in the house when the child died. Maybe there was some sort of spell put on this doll.
I want to take you to the room where most of Robert's story took place. It's called the Turret Suite.
Okay.
Come this way.
can smell perfume in this room. Like, wow, it's so strong that it's everywhere. Okay. I keep seeing depression. I see I'm in the throes of deep, deep, deep grief. God, this woman, They took my Bobby from me, and I don't understand what that means. I don't understand that. They took my Bobby from me. Oh, they took my Bobby from me.
Let me ask you this. Could it be a Bahamian accent saying baby? They took my baby from me.
Oh, interesting. Is that how it would have come out?
Took my Bobby.
They took my Bobby from me. That's exactly how I'm hearing it. And I'm thinking it's like
Yeah,
Bobby.
Bobby like Robert, but that
it's not.
doesn't fit as well as the pronunciation of Bobby. Baby.
Oh my God.
There's a darker legend where a servant was so angry at the family after her child had tragically died that she put a voodoo curse on this doll.
There is a rumor that she had an affair with Thomas Otto. It is rumored that they had a child and she gave birth to a little girl who happened to have passed away. She practiced Santeria and voodoo, and she left a curse inside the doll. And I believe this child that passed away attached itself to Robert the doll. Far-fetched as that sounds, it's one of the rumors here.
Losing a child is devastating, and there's really no grief that can match a mother losing a child. I don't feel like there's a spirit inside Robert the doll. I feel like there's a spirit attached to the doll. And the sense is this is, if I can't have my family, you can't have yours. Or if you're gonna take my family, I'm gonna take yours. So I can really understand why this legend persists, and I actually don't think it's a legend, it's real. I really think that the house is more like a portal. I think that it's an entry point. I think there are tons of spirits there. And it's no wonder why so many people have had so many experiences at this location. This place is haunted, for sure.
Would everybody like some tea? Robert? Okay. Here you are, Robert. Enjoy. How about you, Teddy? We can't have a tea party without you. Now, how did you get all the way over there? Let's stay in our seats this time so we can have our tea.
Joe, if you don't mind, let's put a microphone on her.
Let's get this worked out.
My name is Rachel. After visiting Robert, it has completely shaken my life.
How do you feel right now in Robert's house?
Honestly nervous. knowing the things that have happened to me and the things that have happened here. Robert is a force to be reckoned with. 4 years ago, we were in Key West on our honeymoon. We had just gotten married a few days prior. We decided to try one of the ghost tours that they had at the fort. After that night, it completely changed the direction of my life. They told everyone that was on the tour that we had to show respect for Robert, to ask for his permission. Everything that you do has to be out of respect. And everyone took it seriously except for my husband. At the moment my husband disrespected Robert was the moment everything went downhill. Weeks after, we started noticing little things happening in our house. The taps started as little tiny knocks just on the wall or on the floor. And as the weeks passed and days passed, we could hear the taps getting closer. It went from one end to the entryway to the hallway. And then once it reached the hallway, the taps turned into more of a footstep. The final breaking point was one night when I got off of work, when I walked into the house, every cabinet in our kitchen was open and everything out of the cabinets was stacked on the floor. Talking about it now, it honestly makes me want to cry because it was the scariest moment that I have ever had in my life. It makes me wonder what happened to make Robert what he is today.
Children grow up. It's what they do. And when you grow up, you pack away your dolls.
Gene and Robert were so close growing up, but then the time came when he was a young man and he had to go off and see the world. And he left Robert behind. He put Robert into a chest and stored him away in the attic. And Gene went off to see the world. He went to school first as an architect, but he always wanted to be an artist. So then he went to art school for a little while, and then he went to Paris. And Paris in the 1920s, this was an incredible time. Hemingway was there. You had all of the artists, all of the writers. It was quite the scene. And he studied under some of the best artists.
When he's in Paris, Gene Otto meets his future wife, Ann Parker, who's a brilliant pianist and an accomplished musician, comes from a wealthy family, and she's head over heels in love with Gene, and eventually the two get married.
Gene and Anne are married on May 3rd, 1930 in Paris. Gene sets out to become the artist he's always dreamt himself to be. But Gene and his lovely wife moved to New York in the 1930s, and the Otto family money has dried up thanks to the Great Depression. But by the 1940s, Anne is the one who is the breadwinner of the family. Her music career has taken off. She's even performed at the legendary Rainbow Room, which is every artist's dream at this time.
So by 1945, Gene's struggling as an artist. His wife is doing well as a musician, but then they get a phone call. Gene's mother, Minnie, is not doing well down in Key West.
Anne and Gene were here in the Otto home when Minnie died on September 14th, 1945. And the house was left to the Otto children and then given to Gene and Anne. And the decision was made that they would start the new life here and move in to Gene's childhood home.
Anne knew about her husband's eccentricities. He was an artist, but she was not prepared for what was about to happen when they moved back to Key West.
Gene, I found this in the storage closet.
My old friends.
Gene. Jean. I take it you want to keep this thing?
Yes. And he's not a thing, Anne. I want to introduce you to my oldest friend. This is Robert.
Almost instantly, Jean started talking to the doll, almost as if the doll was alive. I'm sure Anne thought that, what did I get myself into? I think it made her sick to her stomach and creeped her out. But then things took another turn.
I told you I'm sorry. But we're back together now. We can make up for lost time. See, it's just like old times. You sit here in the morning, you get to see a beautiful sunrise. You see, I do remember. You don't have to worry about my wife. We can handle her. You will always be my best friend. Anne?
To this day, thousands of people come to visit Robert, and they write letters begging for this curse to be lifted because they didn't follow the rules.
Dear Robert, I was a recent visitor to the museum, and our guide led us to the room where you're located. He told us about the rules to follow. I told you my name, asked permission to take a photo, and thanked you. I thought I followed the rules. But last night, as I slept, Robert, you came to me in a nightmare.
What the hell? Oh my goodness.
I decided you might have done this to me, Robert, so I looked up the rules on the internet. Everything I read made me believe I followed your rules. And then I noticed another tab. A tab I never opened. And when I clicked on it, I saw a rule I didn't see before. I didn't know I was supposed to say goodbye. I didn't know that was a rule, Robert. Nobody told me. Forgive me.
Anne had given up the limelight up in New York. She had, given up the Rainbow Room. She was a headliner. And now here in Key West, Gene was the story. Gene was the artist. He was the architect extraordinaire.
He's starting to get some acclaim, and he's loving it. He's eating up every minute of it. And so imagine that. Your musical career is more or less finished, and now you're stuck in this house with your husband and this doll. Gene would place Robert in the window of the turret, and you could see him from the street when you walk by.
Right below the window is the street out front, and you have school children that are passing by that will cross the street to avoid the auto house. It did feel like he was glaring at you. I was one of those school children. You always felt you were being watched no matter where you were, what direction of the house you were. He was always watching you, glaring down at you, making you real uncomfortable being there.
It wasn't like Gene was ducking down below him and moving him around. they would see Jean sitting there painting in the other window while Robert moved on his own between the other windows.
At some point, they start avoiding this street because they're afraid of something that's going on inside that house. Something sinister, something that's cursed.
And this is my favorite piece that I've completed so far.
Where do you get your ideas?
It's about observation. I try to bring life into that which intrigues me.
I must admit, I'm a little envious.
You must be so proud. I said you must be so proud.
What? I apologize. Yes, I am.
Who might that be?
It's just our cat.
We don't have any cats.
Maybe it's time to go.
We'll come by another time.
It's nothing. It's nothing, really.
Come on, sweetie.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
You as well. Really, Anne? Anne? Anne, don't. Anne, don't you dare!
And that was the last straw. She had to get Robert the doll out of her life for good. But despite their agreement to keep Robert locked in the attic, the newfound peace in their house did not last long.
I won't be afraid. I'm not afraid.
Next morning, Gene wakes up. His wife's not in bed with him. What happened? So he starts looking around the house.
Anne,
Get away from me!
what are you doing down there?
What the hell is wrong with you? I was up all night crying, screaming.
Anne, I'm sorry.
No, don't touch me. Why did you do it? Why did you lock me in there? Why did you do it?
It wasn't me. Robert did it.
As much as the people in Key West might have seen Anne and Jean as a happy couple out in public, behind closed doors, it was a very different story.
Anne and Jean's relationship was so stressed and so fractured during that time because of Robert's relationship with Jean. And Anne moved into her own room, which happens to be this room that we're in today.
Around 1965, Jean became sick with Parkinson's disease. And I spoke to some of his family. They said he spent his last 10 years in the turret with Robert the doll, slowly losing his mind. It pains me to think about the way she had to suffer, and the ending is even worse. Jean died on June 24th, 1974, and when he died, Anne was devastated.
Anne now lives in the house alone, but it never felt right, just her and Robert in that house. And so when money gets tight, she decides to sell the house to her neighbor, William Geyser.
But she makes one thing clear when she sells the home, that Robert comes with it.
I don't think Anne was honoring her husband by having Robert stay here. I think she wanted to make sure that it didn't end up being sent to her. And she died from pancreatic cancer 5 years later. It was a tragic ending for everybody involved, except for Robert the doll. Myrtle Reuter and Bill Reuter bought the Otto family home from Bill Geyser. It was right around 1976.
Oh my God, I remember this. The unpacking is fun. Let's see what we got here.
Hi, honey.
Hi, Mom.
Hey,
You
Sarah.
having fun?
Yes.
Have you picked out your room?
Yes, it's
Yeah.
really...
Nice.
I love this house.
It is cool. Isn't it?
Big.
Look at you.
Aww.
It's unbelievable.
How did you get here? Are you all alone in here? That isn't nice. Don't worry, I'll take care of you. Of course we can be friends.
Some legends say it seems Robert was waiting for a new friend. There is again this wonderful connection at the start. But again, the honeymoon does not last long with Robert.
So this is your favorite seat? Mine too. I'll bet my other friends will like it. What do you think? I think they like it too. How did you get back here? I think it's time to go to bed.
By coming to Key West, I'm hoping to understand why Robert the Doll has had such a massive impact and a negative impact on so many people. Hi, Robert. My name is Cindy, and I'm here to talk to you about why you're here and to learn about the story of Robert. The energy is palpable. I mean, you could feel the shift the second I walked through the threshold. I'm already hearing there really are many entities attached to Robert the Doll. So fascinating because he's not just one spirit, he's many spirits. It's almost as if the doll itself is a portal. Whatever spell, for lack of a better word, was done was to create an opening inside the doll to attract in spirits. In this particular case, I think it's really hard to close the portal that surrounds Robert the Doll because we don't truly understand how this portal was created.
Do you feel like all of these spirits were always with Robert, or do you think they've been collected along the way?
They've definitely been collected along the way. So it's like wherever Robert goes, more spirits attached to Robert, and they just accumulate and accumulate. And I know that people have seen Robert move, but again, it's also the spirits that are around Robert that are able to manipulate the doll itself. Wherever this doll is, there are lots of spirits coming in, lots of them, and especially children. I keep seeing handprints on the glass, little children's handprints. The little girl, I feel, really is a strong presence around this doll, and her story hasn't been told yet.
Why do you think the spirits around Robert are angry or sad or?
They have unfinished business. Their story hasn't been told. I mean, this doll is a portal to attract in a lot of spirits, and in particular, spirits with unfinished business that are sad, that are angry, because that creates a darker presence. Not all of them are bad. Some of them are mischievous, but there's in particular one who is negative. I definitely feel like there is an aggressive male spirit that's very attached to this doll that I feel is dark, who is the one that shoves people, who scares people.
Open up, please!
There's definitely a very angry, aggressive, and violent spirit attached to Robert the Doll, and I do believe that he is the cause of a lot of the negative activity that people have experienced.
I don't know what to do. She was fine before we moved here. William, why would she be acting like this now?
And I also started fighting with me.
A fake fight? With your doll? What the hell is going on around here? This nonsense! This nonsense, Sarah, it ends now! It ends now!
Are you okay? I don't know.
Part of the legend says that the father locked the doll away after it had tried to attack his daughter. And shortly after he did that, he was found dead.
William Reuter? What on earth are you doing out there?
William? William! William, open the door! William, open the door! William! Wake up, honey, wake up! Wake up, honey, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up!
The legend surrounding William and Robert says that he had passed away from carbon monoxide poisoning.
Was it a tragic accident? Or was this the curse of Robert claiming another victim?
If you ask a local like me, I'm gonna tell you, that's Robert, and he will get his revenge, and he got it.
So now Myrtle is a widow. A few years later, decides to sell the house. She can't afford to keep it. But as she moves away, she decides, strangely, to keep the doll.
So this is where he put you. Oh, you poor darling. You must have been so lonely. Oh. It's okay. I'm here now. You're gonna come live with me now. We're gonna have so much fun.
The legend around Robert and Myrtle continued for years. One such legend included Myrtle getting ready for bed in her Key West apartment.
How's my darling doing?
No, where have you gone?
I know I put you in your chair.
Myrtle Reuter, she had Robert up until August 19th, 1994, and that's the morning after she was attacked.
Whoever is out there, stop this now!
That was the last straw. She had to get Robert the doll out of her life for good. And after that, she donates Robert to the Fort East Martello Museum.
I think she brought him there because this was the main museum in Key West. It was rich with Key West history, and it was also the museum that Gene Otto had helped create. When this was turned over from the military to the Key West Art and Historical Society, Gene was very active in making the galleries. And I talked with Joe, who checked Robert in. He said Myrtle came through that front door and she was frantic. She was clutching the doll. She set him down on the desk and she said, "This is Robert the doll. He belonged to Gene Otto and he's haunted. I need you to take him." They filled out the paperwork. Myrtle left the fort and she died 101 days later.
The museum director gets this doll and doesn't know what to do with it. He's so unnerved by her story, so he puts it away. He locks it away from public view. It's just part of the collection.
When we first took possession of Robert in 1994, it was like a lot of things in our collection. People have dropped things off at the door. People have, some of it's quality, some of it's not. And so Robert kind of fell into that, and he went into a storage room with a lot of other things.
They're not quite sure what to do with him yet, so they just kind of lock him up and keep him in a closet. But this is the perfect place for him, because number one, they used to display Gene Otto's art in this museum. I mean, so there's that connection. And now you've brought in arguably the world's most haunted doll with a place that's also connected to the doll's first owner.
There were plumbing troubles at the fort after Robert had arrived. So they called in a specialist who comes in, the plumber comes in, starts working on the pipes.
Freaking rats.
He flips out. Done. I'm out. I'm not. Get me the hell out of here. And he says, had anyone told him that there was a ghost doll in this building, he never would have come. Unfortunately, these attacks were just the beginning.
As the story of Robert the doll starts to circulate around the museum and as people are becoming more interested in it, employees are starting to notice strange things are happening and the reputation starts to spread quickly.
Well, at least the ghost tours are going well. What?
Sorry, but I don't really believe in that stuff. It's all just a bunch of made-up island tales. What was that?
No, I didn't see anything.
Something just went down the hallway.
It's probably just a mouse.
It looked a hell of a lot bigger than a mouse. All right, I'm gonna go check it out. I'll be right back.
Okay.
You picked the wrong day to sneak in here, brat.
Ah, see that little case there? That's Robert, world's most haunted doll. He's received thousands and thousands of letters from people asking for his curse to be removed. Who here believes in curses?
Robert is just like visiting the lion at the zoo. You don't go in the cage.
And one of my goals tonight is we take precautions so you can get out of here without suffering the wrath of Robert the doll.
Once Myrtle brings Robert to us in 1994, and he got put out on display, he goes from being recognized and known probably by, handfuls of people that are here on Key West to within a few years having an incredible reputation and acknowledgement from all over the country. I can't imagine that Myrtle would have thought that that would have been possible.
Shortly after Robert went on display, visitors started experiencing problems with their cameras. Batteries of all types were draining around Robert the doll. And this led to the legend that you better ask his permission.
Weird things continue to happen to Robert the doll in and around that display. Objects move, the doll moves. People swear they see the doll move on his own.
There was a chair kept beside Robert the doll's case. They'd come in the morning and find the chair facing Robert, as if somebody was sitting and having a conversation with them. They'd hear Robert whisper their name as they walked by him in the morning. One staff member noticed that Robert's feet were dirty. And then she looked down. And in front of his case, she saw little Robert-sized footprints in the dust of the fort.
The reputation of Robert the doll is that it's haunted, it's possessed, that there's something inside of it. What happens if you go there and you take a picture and you didn't ask permission, and you go home and some horrible thing happens to you? Suddenly the legends have a lot more truth to them. It's not just a ghost story anymore, it's your reality.
What does it feel like to be in Robert's home?
Feels a lot different this time, gotta be honest with you, than it did 13 years ago. Key West is one of my favorite places to go. I live about 4 hours away. I used to drive here all the time. And I have not been back here for 13 years. You come to this place and, we did a ghost tour and that was fun and everything was fun and just, we had a few drinks, that was fun. And then the next day we come here and this was fun. But as soon as you turn the corner and, you see basically this little kid's toy that's all beat up and looks like hell, I mean, honestly, and the Robert the Doll legend. But I'm also pretty sarcastic. And when somebody says, don't do this, I just thought, well, I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna turn it up a notch and I'm gonna just be a jackass and mess around with the little stupid kid's toy. I saw this plexiglass, little cage and I thought, oh boy, this is pretty ridiculous. And everyone's freaked out and I remember looking at the wall and there were all these letters pasted and I just remember looking at my wife just going, wow, people are weird. Like, they really buy into this. And so I just started being a jerk. The first rule is, don't mock him. Did it. If you're gonna take a picture, ask his permission. Didn't do that. So without a doubt, everything that I did while I was here was 100% wrong, in my opinion. After we left the museum, within 20 minutes, bad luck started happening. First, it was just minor car stuff, and then it turned into families being in accidents, my dog dying, my mom getting sick, my mom dying, me losing a job, me losing a huge contract, me getting sick. I mean, it just went on and on and on. More pets dying, me getting sicker to the point where me almost dying one day. So I thought, well, what do I have to lose? I'm gonna write him a letter. And that's what I did. And after that, like really within days, it seemed, everything changed. I guarantee people are going to look at me and think, look at this idiot. But this idiot was basically like you idiots that don't believe. Like I truly, truly believe this right now. I was a jerk. I did everything wrong. I did everything that the legend says I shouldn't do. I did, and I ended up paying the price for it.
There are thousands of people begging for forgiveness from Robert the Doll to this day because they believe they're cursed. It really doesn't matter if you believe this is for real or not for real. It's a reality for thousands of people who have fallen under the spell of Robert. And while you can say there's no such thing as curses, this is superstition, there's no such thing as a haunted doll, that's fine, but tell that to them. Tell that to the people, the thousands of people who have written letters about all the bad luck that's befallen them after they went there and didn't take it seriously.
As your parents probably told you, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. This is very important when it comes to Robert. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it to him. Don't even say it out loud, and don't even think it in the same room, because he's gonna know.
I went through some really rough times when I was writing the book about Robert the Doll. I used to think I was Mr. Ghost Guy and that I knew more about them than anybody, but I was put firmly in my place. It started with losing 4 hard drives. And after the first one, of course, I have everything backed up every way you could imagine. The entire versions of the book were disappearing. And it was as if somebody didn't like something I was putting in the book, and I couldn't figure out why. I was shedding light on Robert. I thought he would be appreciative. What became terrifying, you know, losing hard drives, it's not scary. It's frustrating, it's weird. What became terrifying was a few days after this, I was yanked from my bed. And when I realized nothing was below me, I became terrified. And that's when I said, oh, God, help me. And when I said that, boom, I dropped. I wasn't even over my bed. I was about 6 feet to the left of it. And I don't know how high up I dropped from, but I hit hard. And after the encounter with Robert, that woke me up. And it put a seriousness on the spirit world. I don't expect anybody to understand that until they've been through it themselves. And the best I can do is try to warn them until then.
Overall, honestly, Robert the Doll is not evil.
Right.
I don't feel Robert the Doll is evil. I feel there's a portal, there's an entry point, and it's the person's intentions coming towards the doll that create the outcome. How you approach Robert the Doll will determine your experience with the doll.
Do you know why Robert is haunting the people who break the rules to this day?
Because they deserve it. That's just literally what I heard, because they deserve it. And I just heard, I curse people who don't believe that I'm true, that I'm real. That's the thing. People that come in and say, this is just a joke, this is all fake, they're the ones who get hit the hardest. I don't feel like Robert the Doll is out to hurt people, but if you don't respect, then you have something coming for you.
Yeah.
In this particular case, I think it's really hard to close the portal that surrounds Robert the Doll. What we need to do and what people need to do is acknowledge all of the spirits connected to Robert It's not just one. They all need to be acknowledged.
It's powerful.
Yeah, some really powerful spell work was done, and I do not see it being reversed. I think people just need to be respectful and live with it. It's not going away. I mean, I certainly would not want to disrespect the spirits connected to this doll. I think that people that are being haunted by the curse of Robert the Doll need to apologize to the spirits for something that they probably did to disrespect them. Being here today, I truly believe that if you disrespect the spirits attached to Robert the Doll, you will feel its wrath.
A legend is a living, breathing thing. It's a thing that becomes bigger than the object itself. And as you approach this case where Robert sits, you can't help but think of all the stories you've heard. Each one of those stories gives Robert more power, and it makes his legend grow, makes it bigger and bigger. When a company makes a one-off display doll, it's not like someone's gonna think to save all the records of that, right? It's a throwaway. It's something you put up on display somewhere and then you forget about it. How could you know that 100 years from now, this thing that you made would become something so prominent that people come from all over the world to see it and test the legend?
To this day, thousands of people come to visit him every day.
Robert is enormously popular. Over the past 10 years that I've been with this institution and working with Robert, we've seen his popularity grow exponentially.
When people say the most haunted doll in the world, that's a pretty big claim. With Robert the Doll, people experience things every single day of the year. That's what makes the world's most haunted doll.
Is Robert possessed by the spirit of a child born of this illicit affair between Thomas and Emmeline? And could this child's tragic death be the source of the curse of the energy that possesses Robert the Doll? That's the legend.
We have all put our fears and our energy into this thing. Anyone who believes it, anyone who disbelieves it, we have created Robert the Doll. We make monsters, and then we can't control them when they get out into the world. Who knows what's next?
He looks creepy.
I don't know.
You don't think he's creepy looking? Look at the face.
I think he's just misunderstood.
Maybe. No.
Jill, come on.
Hey, I was talking to you. Let's go.
Okay.